Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and today is Monday, September 25th, and I'm here with your weekly intuitive horoscope readings. Before I start, I just want to thank everybody who has been hanging in with me for the month of September. A lot of disruption has been going on. My natal Uranus is being squared by transiting Uranus, and I feel like I'm in a permanent Mercury retrograde. Right now, Lucky and I are in a hotel, and the renovations on my apartment hopefully have begun, and we'll be back home and on track soon. But boy, this little man has been stressed out. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk a little bit about the transits going on this week. They've been pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, the same transits that we've been seeing. We've got the nodes squaring Pluto, which I think is very powerful and continues to be powerful because Pluto was squaring the nodes when they were going through the Taurus Scorpio axis, and now it continues to square on the Libra Aries axis. And I think that this is very powerful because it's asking us to really take a look at where people or energies or situations have power over us, and power that does not feel necessarily working towards what we want as individuals for our happiness. We also have been seeing Juno and Venus traveling together through Leo. But before I start all of that, let me just say that this video and the videos I do on a weekly basis are they are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I talk about Aries, I'm talking about Aries Rising. If you don't know your rising sign, you can go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your location and exact time of birth. The reason you need an exact time of birth is because the moon moves so very quickly, and the degree of the moon gives you even further detail as to what your emotional body and what your soul has signed up for in this lifetime, as well as the rising can change. My sister actually had twins born 12 minutes apart, and while the rest of their charts were all exactly the same, their rising signs changed, which very much changed their perception of how they view the world. So let's just jump in. As I alluded to a moment ago, we have Pluto squaring the nodes. And Pluto is, basically most people talk about Pluto being death and destruction, birth and rebirth. It can be a frightening little planet when we look at it just superficially. But when we look deeper into what Pluto offers us is that deep psychological imprint that prevents us from our power, or prevents us from being able to feel our power. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Pluto rules sex, and oftentimes we find that when we interact in an intimate way, it triggers something within us, and we tend to move forward in a situation where maybe if we had not interacted, we would have a different perception. Pluto rules money, and we all know that money talks and you know what walks, right? Pluto also rules criminal behavior, that dominant energy where you're a little bit more about what your own agenda is rather than being in a win-win situation. On the really, really positive side of Pluto, Pluto is very intuitive because of the psychological nature, because Pluto is the Freud of the Zodiac. It is very easy for Pluto's energy to reveal that psychological imprint that disempowers us. It also gives us an opportunity to make our own money when we are brave to use our skills, hence what we were seeing on the Taurus Scorpio axis. Scorpio being other people's money, Taurus ruling money that I make with my own skills. Now, with the nodes moving into the Aries Libra axis, we are seeing the North Node really stretching us for our individuality, stretching us to be brave and be pioneering about the things we want for the self. And at the same time, the South Node in Libra is asking us to be egoless to those situations, to those dynamics that disempower us. They may feel safe on a superficial level, they may pay the bills, but it may not serve your happiness and may ultimately be eroding your sense of excitement for life because it becomes a dutiful energy. And whenever we're talking about one of the signs that represents commingling, partnership, working with others, we always see a little bit where the sign that is used to being compromising kind of gives up and lets the other more dominant side take over. So here with the nodes transiting through the Aries Libra axis, Pluto's breaking all that up and saying, if you're not feeling valued, if you're not feeling a sense of thriving within your relationships, your experiences, your work dynamic, Pluto's going to start to fluff things up quite a bit. When we also have Juno, which represents marriage and committed relationships, traveling conjunct with Venus and has been for quite some time in the sign of Leo. Venus ruling love and intimacy and more romance kind of, I think of. And then Juno being a more serious energy about partnerships. And so as they travel together in the sign of Leo, there's a very strong pull to want to make a committed situation that, or I should say, to engage in a committed situation that moves our story forward, whether it be our creative story, wanting to conceive children. Leo also rules high school children. So there could be, for those of you that are parents, you're seeing your own children really wanting to step up into their own creative dynamic and make a commitment to themselves. Remember, Venus rules our self-worth as well as our money. So with Venus and Juno conjunct going through Leo, it's really asking us to be discerning about the situations, the relationships, and the dynamics we're engaging in, and if they are indeed based on our empowerment or inadvertently our disempowerment. So I think that's really important. We also have Uranus retrograde right now. We have Jupiter and Uranus both in Taurus. Jupiter is not far from Uranus. So while they're not in a tight conjunction, in that retrograde energy, we're seeing this real electric feeling about, what do I believe? How do I want to run my business? Jupiter runs commerce, business, higher education, foreign travel, the connection to the angelic realm, wealth and expansion. And Uranus has really been kicking it up in Taurus, saying, what is your deeper truth? What do you really want? What makes you feel empowered and unique and individualistic and moving towards your future versus playing to maybe your past? So all of these dynamics, while they feel a little bit like walking through mud or walking through some sort of thick, arduous energy, I think overall by the end of the year, we will all have come to some personal realizations that we will get to implement that will be for our highest and greatest good moving forward in the new year of 2024, when Pluto ultimately moves back into Aquarius and pretty much stays there until 2044. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull a tarot card for each one of the signs and do a reading for you. Again, this is based on whole sign Western astrology. So if you don't know your rising sign, again, please go to one of the free birth calculators on the internet, and you can garnish that information. Also, I think that the moon is very important. We manifest on our moon because our moon is our emotional body, and humans, whether they know it or not, their emotional body sends a ripple effect out into the universe and kicks in the law of attraction, kicks in the law of allowing, kicks in ebb and flow. So when we're seeing a series of disruptions, whether we like it or not, we on some level are co-creating that disruption. It could be there, a disruption there to present you as an awakened, aware human or soul in a human's body, an opportunity to make a new choice. And that is the beauty about disruption. It gives us this glimpse into our evolved self as we implement new philosophies versus old reactions to things. Right now, I'm sitting in a hotel room, as I said earlier, and I haven't had any sleep. They've moved my room 3 times. First, I had some buzzing noise. Then I have a smoker underneath me. Then I had a broken this and a broken that. And frankly, all the new noises, and Lucky's he's so exhausted right now from just the stress of not being home and all the newness. that it's given me an opportunity to really look at how I show up. I'm an Aries rising. There's a part of me that wants to be very assertive when I'm not happy. And I'm learning to be more diplomatic in order to engage people to help me versus just finding me difficult. So if you're experiencing disruptions, I really would encourage you, and I hope to inspire you to look at it as a divine disruption that offers you an opportunity to exercise an evolved version of yourself, a version of yourself that up until now may just be conceptual. And now you get an opportunity to really root that in through an experience. And it really doesn't matter what the disruption is. It only really matters how you perceive it and the permissions you give yourself in your actions to walk through it. So let's start with our Libras, and then we're going to work our way around the Zodiac. Normally I do these on Sundays, but yesterday we were transiting to the hotel. It was a very busy day, and the month of September, as I said, I've been rather preoccupied with the home renovation and other such exciting Virgonian things that I've been doing. So thank you all for your patience, and thank you for continuing to subscribe. So let's start with our Libras. Happy birthday, Libra. You are Libra Rising, experiencing the South Node going through your first house. And, you know, on the surface, we use keywords like erosive, loss. The South Node often represents in past lives our habitual habits of thought and behavior. And the South Node in Libra would be very much about partnership and being overly cooperative, maybe to the detriment of the self, which is why during this next year, year and a half, that we're going to be experiencing the North and South Node in the Aries Libra axis is going to give us an opportunity to value ourselves in a way that reframes what it looks like to be selfish or what it looks like to care about the self. And at that same time, that may ruffle the feathers of current or long-standing relationships as your viewpoint changes. And while it doesn't have to blow up those relationships, I do think that Pluto's input on the nodes is really asking us to do a deep dive into what makes us happy and how we are given permissions from ourselves and from those around us to be who and what we are, to our highest and greatest potentials. So for my Libras, let's pull a tarot card for you. Your first card is the Three of Cups. Traditionally, this is a card of celebration. We see three women with their cups. We see the pumpkins in the on the ground. This sort of represents a very harvesty feeling, as if there's been a long road of work. But the other thing, and the thing I resonate most with the Three of Cups, is the three phases of the woman as she evolves. There's first the young, the naive, the innocent, and then we go into the phase of the maternal, the nurturer, and then ultimately into the more seasoned energy of the wise woman, the woman who has been on the planet for a while and has started to integrate her experiences. And in doing so, she feels a great sense of appreciation and power. And the power is not over others, but the power is over her own perceptions. So let's do a spread and see what Spirit wants you to know for this week. And if it is your birthday this week, Libra, happy, happy birthday. This is a significant opportunity on your solar return to declare intentions for this year and what you'd like to create. So let's see where you will apply your wisdom. Our first angel is Ariel, telling us new psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view yourself. We have Bridget asking you to look deeper. We have Archangel Gabriel talking about your communications, and we have Astera saying to reach for the stars. As I see Bridget and Archangel Gabriel, I'm really thinking that's a real authentic look in your self-talk. Because when we focus in on the challenges, and I got to tell you, entering this hotel, the last 24 hours, in my mind's eye, it was going to be so wonderful. We're going to check in. I'm going to be able to order room service. And indeed, I did that. And I got a paper bag and plastic utensils, and I was shocked and honestly appalled. And I spent the whole night because I'm a Libra sun, trying to wrestle down my Aries rising so that my Libra diplomacy could come through and I would find cooperation. So Libra, Ariel is being joined by the owl. The owl represents two sides of a situation, deception and wisdom. So here, Ariel is really offering Libra an opportunity to decipher between the more human part of yourself and then the part of yourself that has been engaged in active evolution and awareness, so that your focus is where you want to be versus where you have been. Bridget is asking you to look deeper into your optimism, into your excitedness, into your passion. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the hawk. We're seeing an oversight, looking at the bigger picture of things. And then finally, Astera is being joined by the communications card. Again, being a Libra, I'm currently experiencing the South Node has been going over my Mars and over my natal sun. I experienced this also when it was going through Scorpio. It went over my Mercury and my Neptune and my power of fortune. And as I have an awareness of this, I realize that it isn't about loss. It's about redefining healthy boundaries. Because here, Ariel's giving you new experiences that are actually illuminating the contrast in your life between the experiences you're having that move you to where you want to go and the experiences you have had that tether you to a certain viewpoint and certain obligations, because Bridget is asking you to look deeper into not only being optimistic, but also allowing your own personal creativity to flow. And I want to say it this way, because in the angel's advice, when I look at Archangel Gabriel, this feels like self-talk. And is your self-talk supporting the experience you want, or is it anchored into the past because that's realistic and that happened? Because the law of attraction doesn't really care what the experience is. It reacts, or the law of attraction moves forward through your words and your vibration. And it's sort of like a dog, you can say to the dog, I'm confident, but the dog can feel the underbelly. That's the Pluto energy. So here, looking for the signs and the omens, but also being very, pulling your side up. Is my self-talk matching what I want to experience? Is it representing my wisdom, the things I have garnished over the years? Because Astera says to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, and here is the communications card. So ultimately, Libra, what Spirit is saying, as you're experiencing the South Node, potentially giving you a feeling of elusiveness, or maybe even a feeling of pending loss. I'm not quite sure how you may be processing this, because everybody has different types of Libran energy. This could be about a loss of diplomacy, or a loss of harmony, or a loss of a relationship. Again, the South Node is redefining your boundaries, and if your boundaries are supporting a win-win situation, and are you engaging in the wisdom of what you have learned up until now? Because this spread feels like this week it's super important to remember your self-talk. One other thing I'm going to say before I move on to Scorpio is I'm a big Abraham fan, and those of you that watch my channel regularly know that I post Abraham quotes about once a week. And one of the things Abraham talks about is a step one moment. And when you're in a step one moment, you're in a moment of disruption, which is providing contrast. And in this last 24 hours, barely, that I've been here at this hotel, I've experienced so much disruption. And I keep reminding myself that I'm in a step one moment, and it's giving me clarity. All right, so that's it for my Libras. I'm going to move on to Scorpio. That's Scorpio rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card for our Scorpios is the Four of Pentacles. Now, this is a card that is really, the first word that comes to mind is stuck. We see this Lord. He's not a high-ranking royal, but he's a royal nonetheless. And he's holding his money very awkwardly, his material possessions. There's definitely fear associated with this card, and that fear is loss of material. So as Scorpio, you may inadvertently be experiencing all the planets, so many planets are retrograde. Saturn's retrograde, Pluto's retrograde, Uranus is retrograde, Jupiter's retrograde, Venus, Mars, and Mercury have moved forward. Chiron is even retrograde, I believe. So there's a lot of energy that can make us feel as if we're taking a step back. And this is not actually a loss of money. This is holding on to my money in a way that is supporting more of a fear-based viewpoint versus flow. And when it comes to Scorpio, I think Scorpio is such a rich and savory energy. So as you're more aware of your own intentions, your own psychological imprint, you might see yourself holding on to something a little too tightly, trying to control it or make sure that you're, staving off any sort of vulnerabilities to fear. And that might be actually inadvertently kicking in the law of attraction, bringing in more disruption. Let's see what the angels have to say. Our first angel is Omega, the angel of victory. Then we have Bethany, an angel of self-care. We have Isaiah saying it's time to give birth to new ideas about your self-care. And then finally, we have Grace and Antoinette offering compassion and giving us an opportunity to see things from another person's point of view. Poor Lucky, he's so tired from the stress of this little jaunt to this hotel, I'll tell you. Okay, here we go. Scorpio, Omega is being joined by the Fire Fairy. Bethany's being joined by the Communications card. Isaiah's being joined by the Birth and the Rebirth card. And then we have Grace and Antoinette being joined by the Stag. Scorpio is a fixed sign, and it's not a sign for the meek. It is a very powerful sign, and a little bit challenging. Unconscious energy of Scorpio can be a little bit assertive in a way that doesn't necessarily take other people's emotions into consideration. But I always kind of think people who are watching my videos or videos like this have a certain awareness. And so while you may be feeling on some level stuck or feeling like you have to hold on to something very tightly and it's uncomfortable, it's not an ease, there's awkwardness attached here, there will be victory as you stay optimistic. And I want to offer it this way, because optimism, when we actually feel negative and trying to push an optimistic or positive viewpoint, is like gasoline on a fire. So what I have been shown by Spirit is that when I feel my human body, my frustration, my annoyance kicking in, then I say to Spirit, thank you for giving me the eyes and the wisdom to see through this current situation, what it has to offer me versus what it feels like it's taking away from me. Because Bethany for Scorpio is about self-care. And then we have the Communications card. And I believe that if you're looking at outside what is wrong or what's not working or what's making you feel like you've got to hold on too tight, then I think you're disempowering yourself. So this is about communication that takes you on the other side of whatever this story is for you. Because in the angel's advice is Pluto, the Birth and Rebirth card. And there's Isaiah saying you're being protected while you give birth to new ideas. But Isaiah is an energy of gestation. It's not an energy of birth. So we're still in a process. And I would imagine a lot of Scorpios are still integrating their experience as the South Node went through your first house, because that was all about yourself and how others potentially react to you. And if you are a Scorpio of, in full color, some people may be like, you're too much. You're ruled by Mars and Pluto. So this is Grace and Antoinette in the final position, and the Stag representing leadership. And I think this is an opportunity to have compassion for your leadership while you walk through a period of time and awareness about how you may be inadvertently being more assertive to try to get out of this stuck spot. Then it may be kind of a situation where your way of being is not really engaging people to want to help you or to move your story forward. But this is about an awareness that your power lies in your self-talk and that self-talk focused in on what you want to experience, regardless of what you have already experienced. And while that can sometimes be a little bit challenging, if you take it in small bits, it's easier to build up that muscle of faith and of optimism and of feeling victorious. And then that talk can move forward. All right. Let's go on to our Sagittariuses. I don't know if you can hear the music in the background. I'm over the pool and the music's super loud. So I apologize if that's going on, but you know, I'm just walking through wonderful moments of disruption, offering me opportunities to show up different than I have in the past. All right, Sagittarius. Ooh, we have the Queen of Pentacles. This is a very Capricorn energy. It's a builder energy. It's the queen of the material. She looks down at what she has built, and she has a certain sense of, it's almost an interesting energy because she looks as if it's almost like a baby in her arms. So whatever Sagittarius is building right now, whatever you have put your sights on in the way of bringing from the conceptual into the material world, that looks like there's some life coming in. This little bunny rabbit always seems very prolific to me, and it's charging into the foreground. So I think there's something yummy going on, but let's look from the angels. See what our first angel has to say. All right, Sagittarius rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Chantal, the angel of romance, is here. Then we have Francesca, Azure, and Rochelle. Francesca talks about, are you focusing in on what you want to experience, or are you focusing in on what you may not experience? Positive, negative. It's a real one coin, two sides. Azure talks about your desire coming into fruition, and the opportunity is really to receive it versus to try to push on it and get it. Rochelle talks about your heart. Chantal is being joined by the fear card. Francesca is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. Azure is being joined by the wealth card. And Rochelle is being joined by the dragon. So for my Sagittarius, is the Queen of Pentacles is absolutely a nurturing maternal energy when it comes to the material world. It's not just money. It's bringing something into your world that serves your human experience, makes you feel proud, makes you feel good, makes you feel as if you're co-creating. Now here we have Chantal in the fear card. And I think that this fear card really represents face everything, false evidence appearing real, face everything and rise, because here Chantal is saying that new love is coming into your life, either the resurgence of an existing relationship or a new situation will come in that will be more suited to you and what you'd like. Here in the opportunity, the obstacle is the birth and the rebirth card. We just got done talking about Pluto squaring the nodes, and the nodes are in the Libra Aries axis. Libra represents partnership. So there could be, with the South Node going through Libra, a little bit of feeling unsure about your partnerships, but what will you visualize? Because your self-talk is so and very important. As you're saying, your desired outcome in the angel's advice will take place in no short order, but this isn't about forcing it to happen. It's about inviting it in. And there's the harmonious wealth card. So the more you can stand in that energy of happy reception, of waiting, I don't want to say waiting like I'm holding my breath. I want to be more excited anticipation that it is on its way, because Rochelle is talking about your heart, and the dragon is about being calm, cool, and collected as you trust your heart rather than what you see with your eyes. I believe that when Pluto moves into Aquarius, what's really going to change, the revolution that will take place, and Uranus will support this when it moves into Gemini, is the way we think. We're going to become, as humans, more aware of our energetic body, more brave in our co-creation, more willing to take responsibility for the stories we tell that don't support what we want to live. One of my challenges today is there's been so many mistakes at this hotel. I want to tell somebody, I want to talk about it, I want to kvetch, honestly. And yet at the same time, I know that's not going to serve my ease for this to be a better situation. I've got more days here. So I'm really kind of holding back on that, wanting to say, and trying to say, all right, everything's going to move forward more effortlessly. And I know I'm in a wobble with that, but even within that wobble, my awareness is moving the story forward versus taking it away from or moving it back. So Sagittarius, keep your eye on the prize. Remember, you're in a nurturing, building energy, building into the material. If you have been wanting to experience a more loving relationship, then your focus on being a more loving partner versus what is coming at you. This, and I'm not saying that it's your responsibility to change the other person, but as you practice that perception, your own eyes see things differently because your focus starts to move and starts to see what is working versus what isn't. All right, let's go on to our Capricorns. That's rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the Nine of Pentacles. This is the self-made woman. We see this very small little snail in the background, and this is a process. This woman has been diligent in her efforts. Her garb is covered with the sign of Venus. So she's very aware of herself. She's aware of her own talents. She's aware of her self-worth. And in many ways, she has started a cooperative energy with the falcon that sits on her arm. Now, a falcon is an animal of prey. And you can't hold a falcon without some sort of protection. And her protection feels as if she understands the elements of the falcon. And rather than resisting them or fighting them, she has a calm energy, sort of like the strength card, you know, the calming of the beast. And she's definitely a self-made woman. So she, pardon me, but my legs are falling asleep. She is absolutely capable of creating comfort and ease for herself. So Capricorn, you're the builder. You're ruled by Saturn. Saturn ruled the golden age. And while Saturn can be challenging initially, bringing a more repressed energy, a more limiting energy, I believe that's to slow you down. So you'll really look to see where is your history repeating itself, or where are you basing your future on your past? And your past is what it is, but your future is unwritten. So you have an opportunity through focus, through self-talk, to create a new experience. So Capricorn, our first angel is Astera, saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and do not compromise. Francesca is here again. What do you visualize? It will come about. Negativity blocks your progress. Yvonne is about vulnerability to your own thought process. And then we have Archangel Raphael offering an epiphany. I've really started to not like the word healer because it intimates that we are broken. And yet on a soul level, we're not broken at all. What we are is we are unaware of our truth and our power. And the human structure does not support our expansion. It supports our compartmentalization. So here for my Capricorns, I think what we're going to see is an epiphany. And I want to start calling healers balancers. So they give wisdom to the darkness that then makes the color pop in their lives. You know, I often say that fear is a great exhilarator, because when you walk through fear and you conquer it, you triumph over it, you feel like you've achieved through it. It is one of the most exhilarating experiences that you can have. I did it. And if I did it once, I can do it again. So here, Astera saying you deserve the best, reach for the stars. And there's the wind fairy. This is very much about your thoughts. So this is about, in many ways, Capricorn, sort of looking at this falcon as who the first incarnation of Capricorn could very much be dutiful. I follow the rules. I do what I'm told. I listen to authority. I listen to my government. And now this is about you starting to pay attention to your thoughts, and are they aligned to your real dreams, to what you really want to experience? Francesca is being joined by the partnership card. Now, I want to say this because this could be a physical partnership, absolutely, but it can also be a partnership with your dreams. And if you can dream it, you can be it. And the challenge of the being it is the tenacity to not look at the time or the circumstances per se, but just to continue down the road. Now, that's something Capricorn is super good at. But at the same time, sometimes Capricorn is really good at that for their obligations, for the people who require that from them, but they may not be as tenacious for themselves. And I think that's where Yvonne's vulnerability comes in, because Merlin is joining Yvonne, offering balance, alchemy, and justice. And this justice comes somehow within a partnership, and it could be a material partnership, a work partnership, a professional partnership, and not just a intimate partnership. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the focus card. So Capricorn, you're being very much being encouraged by spirit to be mindful of your thoughts. And I'm not going to negate your experiences and say you didn't experience that challenging thing or this disruption, but the focus of the challenge or the focus of the disruption isn't going to move you into the land of your dreams. It's going to keep you in that loop of disruption. So this is where you start to feel the balancing, is because, oh my gosh, I've been focusing on what isn't working instead of what is working. And I want to say this too, because Capricorn, you don't need to be perfect. You're allowed to think those thoughts of, oh no, I'm nervous, I'm scared. It's the focused thought of that over and over again, and justifying your fears, justifying your limitations, justifying your restrictions. Those are the when we start to kick in the laws of attraction. An awareness of them won't do that. And in the awareness, you have an opportunity to engage spirit to help you align and see the wisdom of any disruption, and then bring yourself back into balance. And balance is never 50-50. Rarely is it 50-50. It might be 50-50 for like 5 minutes, but there always seems to be a little bit of a I hope I'm making sense. I'm running on no sleep. All right, let's go into our Aquariuses. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the Knight of Swords. Now, this is a very aggressive energy, very Martian. This guy is coming through fast. He's got his sword in the air and he's willing to take off heads. That doesn't really work in everyday life, but it might work in certain circumstances. There's a lot of movement in this Knight of Swords, and the movement is aggressive. It's a little harsh and unyielding. Let's see where we're going. Our first angel is Desiree. The second is Rochelle. The third is Teresa. And the final is Athena. When I look at this Aquarius, I feel as if there's a situation brewing that you could be absolutely right about. I mean, you could be like, this is not right, and I'm right about that. And at the same time, I don't think it's about the situation. I think it's about how you're approaching it. Because if you're approaching it like this Knight, you're not going to get the cooperation or the validation for your opinion or your perception that you're looking for. Desiree is being joined by the communications card. Desiree is all about conditions not being favorable, and this is conversation, communications. Now, communications can be with other people, obviously, but there's also the communications we have with ourselves, the loop that goes on over and over and over again. I don't know if any of you have experienced it, but I have caught my brain operating on automatic pilot. And when it does that, it's never a good story. It's always like, he done me wrong, she done me wrong, poor me, pitiful me, I'm a misunderstood. And then I catch myself. I'm like, why do I say this anymore? Half of these people aren't even in my life anymore. They've just left an imprint. So, and it's made me sometimes feel aggressive, and you may feel slightly aggressive. You know, Uranus rules Aquarius, yes, but Aquarius is basically a warrior itself. I mean, you rule liberation. And how do you liberate yourself? You go against the man. So here, I think it's not about going against the man. I think it's about how you do it. Here's Rochelle. talking about your heart, trusting your heart. And here's the transformation from the ugly duckling to the swan. Rochelle is like pretty much, I always say she's my favorite angel, because when I look at her, she offers prosperity, but the prosperity for me is never money. It's a combination of material resources, confidence within myself, and a sense of peace about it. And I think that's what's being offered here, because the swan is really a card of transformation and trusting that heart, trusting that inner voice. We have Teresa being joined by the dragon. Teresa is a card of worry, and the dragon is a card of a very calm energy. You can see this paw is up, and I always think it's a she for some reason, and she's very calm, cool, and collected. Teresa represents other people, and this may be happening to Aquarius because you rule futuristic things. Oftentimes, the libertarian, if he's caught by the man and doesn't get his mission done, he'll be exiled from his homeland or from wherever he is. So there can be a feeling of disconnection, and you could worry about that. But I think it's more about how you express yourself than it really is about being exiled, because Athena is saying that as you lovingly assert yourself, others work with you in cooperation. And there's the novice, a new beginning. So for my Aquariuses, this is the thing. You're a fixed sign. You can see past today into tomorrow, and then the tomorrows and the tomorrows. And if for some reason you're dealing with people who only see today, you may feel a sense of frustration. So as you lovingly assert yourself into your vision and share that vision, I think you're going to find a whole new set of skills within you that you didn't know was there. And I think that this is important because in ruling science and in ruling space and technology, the heart can get a little muddled. The heart can look at something soft and, maybe easily dismissed, because here are the facts and here's the science and here's how it rolls. And I think Spirit's asking you to step back and say, the human is who creates the science. The human is the one who goes out to explore. The human is the one who creates technology. So we're looking back to remember that human connection, and then to communicate in a way that isn't about what we want to say, but how we want others to hear us and how we want them to respond. All right, let's go on to our Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I swear, I think Lucky didn't sleep for 24 hours. He's out like a light right now. He is just, he's dreaming. Can you see his little belly? He's dreaming. Oh, stretchy stretch. All right, here we go. Pisces. Oh, this is a wonderful card. It's the 9 of Cups. Now, this is a card of self-satisfaction. This isn't about anybody else. And it's, for me, it's a card of process. When I look at the character, he has a red cap on, and the red cap for me really resonates to my base chakra. So I have an awareness of my fears. I have awareness of my survival instinct and a sense of I want to use the word control, but I'm not so sure control is appropriate. But the awareness gives me a feeling of intention and control and co-creation. He also has these 9 cups, and they're all lined up perfectly. And I can't help but notice they're yellow, and then this blue curtain. So he's mastered his self-talk, and that's how he was able to create this. And he's just waiting for the next step, which is filling those cups. So for my Pisces, as Saturn has entered your first house, you might have felt dampening. And Pisces, this Saturn is really only addressing the early born Pisces from 0 to 7 degrees. Saturn went up to 7 degrees. It's currently in retrograde. In November, it will move forward again, and will move past those 7 degrees as it moves into we move into 2024. So you're really getting an opportunity to look with Saturn's eyes at what you're creating, and is it truly serving your happiness, your vision, your intention for moving forward, or is it inadvertently that Pisces is so empathetic and so compassionate, it can sometimes diminish itself so that others can rise up. And this is all about you, not about anybody else. So let's see. Our first angel is Zana, the angel of protection. The second is Ariel. new psychic and spiritual experiences are changing how you view yourself and the world around you. Archangel Raphael is offering a balancing. And then we have Athena offering you the power to lovingly assert yourself and your wants and your desires. All right. Xana, the angel of protection, is being joined by the Baird, which is the energy of your history. It's also the enchantment of storytelling. So if any of my Pisces are creative storytellers, and storytellers aren't just writers, they're filmographers, directors, producers, actors, dancers. Pisces is a very creative sign. We have Ariel being joined by the bee, which is good luck and victory. Again, all of this goes back to your personal satisfaction and something you're creating, Pisces. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the partnership card, and then Athena is being joined by the dog. Well, this is very fabulous because it could be a couple things. Because the Nine of Cups is all about you, it's all about yourself, your self-satisfaction, your creation. I feel like when I look at this, that I'm being protected as I'm rewriting my history, because Pisces also rules our ancestors and what we call our karmic soul's imprint that we do over and over again, because Pisces rules that last bit of the human experience before we transcend back into the non-physical. So here, I believe that the Baird is really talking about the enchantment of storytelling, about music, about creativity, and you're being protected as you connect with spirit and you're aware of your being energy. When I talk about being energy, it's what do I believe about the situation? What do I personally think is viable? Do I think I'm going to be good at this? Do I think that people will be cooperative? Because if I have trepidation, then the law of attraction will probably bring in people to validate that trepidation. But Pisces, not for you. Here, you're starting to really grasp your creativity and trusting that if you build it, they will come. Because here is Archangel Raphael joining, giving you an epiphany. And here's the partnership card. And while I think of partnership, oftentimes as a marriage, here it feels like a partnership with two sides of yourself, like the part of yourself that is actually, the creative being that says, yes, this is possible. And then maybe the part of yourself that Saturn's affecting, saying, I don't know, have you done the work? Have you done everything? Because in the final position is Athena saying it's safe for you to lovingly assert yourself. And there's the dog. And the dog here represents loyalty, sincerity, and unconditional love. And I think this all goes back to what you love and what you want to create. I don't really, even though we see the partnership card, I'm not necessarily associating that right now with another person as much as I'm associating it with spirit and with the connection to the angelic realm, to those that watch over me and continuing to guide me and hold me in sort of a, kind of like a little bit of a flanking me, right? In a way that makes me feel protected and comforted as I walk through some scary moments, as I endeavor my own personal satisfaction and I build on it, because Saturn's going to build slowly. Saturn's going to say, take your time, cross your T's, dot your I's. Are you sure? And the most thing that Saturn's asking in your first house is, what do you really, really believe? Because what you believe is ultimately what you'll manifest, no matter actually what comes out of your mouth. Because again, positivity doesn't neutralize negativity unless you actually feel positive. Because if you're trying to avoid feeling negative by talking positive, but feeling negative underneath the positive talk, gasoline on a fire. It doesn't work. It's not really productive and actually can bite you in the butt. So this is all super good, but it's also asking Pisces just to be a little bit about just you right now and not worrying about the rest of the world so much. Okay, let's go on to our Aries. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Those of you that are Aries are experiencing Chiron going through your first house. And Chiron is the gift. Remember that, okay? Because initially Chiron can feel a little bit defeating, deflating, because the wound, as it's exasperated, is how the gift reveals itself. the determination to believe beyond the wound. Chiron actually, and this is where I might, I might mess up the Greek names, but I'm pretty sure it was Prometheus that was tied to that rock and was suffering a daily pecking from that bird in the name of love. And then Chiron, and I don't really remember the circumstances, but I believe Chiron went to either Apollo, maybe it's Zeus, whoever is the head of the gods, and said, look, let me take away his pain. And this is what released Chiron from the wound cycle. He actually got to die instead of living, because he was a demigod. So in taking Prometheus's place, Chiron was released from this cycle of pain and healing and never actually feeling like anything was kind of about him. Poor Chiron. His story is very, kind of deflating from the beginning. Very Saturnian. Well, his dad was Saturn. So, all right, here we go. Are you ready, Aries? It's going to be a little rough. I'm not going to lie. Three of Swords. This is not an easy energy. Oftentimes when you go to a straight up psychic tarot reader, she'll say there's a betrayal ahead. There's a threesome, meaning there's a third party involved. But the thing that this card offers is that this heart is not torn up. The swords go through very clean and they come out the other side, and then they offer illumination. So somewhere, my Aries, this Three of Swords, if you're experiencing some kind of heartache or you're experiencing Chiron's retrograde and it's crawling up the backside of you to make you feel as if, I just want to off with their heads, there's a wisdom to be had. Because the swords, when I was learning the tarot, they would always say it means strife and struggle. And I started to look at that as it being outside of myself. And then as I evolved on the planet, I realized most of my strife and struggle come from the way I think. And all the sword cards represent air, and they represent the way I think. So this is also a little bit about feeling like the underdog, feeling like I get my heart broken. Let's see where we go, Aries. Because one of my heartbreaks in life ended up being one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given, because it gave me an awareness of myself and how I could process a situation that surprised me and made me proud. It wasn't easy, and it certainly wasn't fun. All right. Our first angel is Archangel Raphael, offering a healing, again, through an epiphany. Aurora is saying you're flying high right now. Don't descend, because you will soon inspire others with your example. Layla is about talking to God and the angels while you go through this situation. And the final is Rosetta. Now, Rosetta talks about parenting and teaching, but when I'm talking to this group, I actually think that this is more about your inner child, especially since we're talking about a wound here. I don't think it's always easy for Aries. It has this tendency to feel like a loner, a little like Aquarius, because they have that pioneering spirit, because they're the hero energy. And, you go into an emergency situation and you don't have the privilege of thinking through every move. A lot of it has to be instinctual, and Aries is very good at that. But when they take that into their everyday world, they find people brush up against it, and they don't really like that assertiveness. And it might make you feel like you're trying to do something good and people are not responding. All right, Archangel Raphael is being joined by the disruption card. Aurora's being joined by the restriction card. Layla's being joined by the butterfly. And Rosetta's being joined by the forgiveness card. So I mentioned earlier, I'm an Aries rising, and I can be a very assertive person. And sometimes in that assertion, I actually ended up not getting, the kind of responses I wanted. And it took me a while to kick in my Libra and be more diplomatic and balanced. But I want to offer this because disruption is absolutely the energy for you to feel your evolution. And if you don't walk through a disruption, if you don't walk through something that hurt you, if you don't walk through something that may feel icky, you will never experience yourself in that evolved. It'll always be conceptual. So this is about kind of maybe stepping a little bit back. We still have Mars in Virgo, and Mars in Virgo, could very much bring this warrior energy, Aries energy, into the Virgonian energy of feeling enslaved by something, feeling trapped in your work situation, or even being annoyed by your health. And if your health is being affected, your anger is not at whatever the condition is, will not help support the balance of that. So I believe that the Archangel Raphael is offering an epiphany through a disruption that will then, while you'll be stuck in a pause, you will then learn how to fly off that ledge in a much more effective way, and in a way where people can see the evolved version of yourself. Because Layla is about talking to God and the angels about your intentions, and the butterfly, while it represents evolution and transmutation, it also represents the beauty that happens through that disruptive energy. And then here, your inner child feels as if she's or he has been restored. The forgiveness card is here. And I always think of forgiveness as a reconciliation, going through a challenging experience and then understanding what it had to offer me, and thereby finding appreciation for it. I may not have felt it while I was walking through it, but as I analyze it and process it, I can extract the bits and pieces that actually enlighten me. One of my greatest awarenesses came through one of the biggest betrayals I've ever experienced. And while that betrayal was never actually balanced itself, sort of just went away with time, and the parties involved, one party was very, very willing to be a balancer, but the other party was not, sort of stood in an energy as if they had no qualms about their behavior. And that, while it was very disruptive for me, it also made me stop hitting my head against a wall trying to resolve something when someone wasn't going to want to resolve it. So I think that this forgiveness card becomes the reconciliation that then allows you to take that disruptive energy and truly turn it into a balancing tool. Again, I don't like the word healing anymore. It infers that we are broken, and I don't believe we are broken. I believe that we come into this human experience and have step one moments of disruption that offer us opportunities to make choices. And those choices, AKA karma, are what end up becoming the cycle. Because as we make a choice that's more aligned to the truth of what we want, and sometimes that's a difficult decision, but as it starts to appear in the material in a balanced way, it's very inspiring and it's very motivating to stay the course. And very much through your restriction, I believe you will have an awareness, and that awareness will then inspire others. And sometimes, when you talk about Aries energy, Aries can be so assertive that people think nobody will, you don't listen to anybody. And that might just be the situation that throws people off. Wow, you actually listened to me. Or I got to experience Aries in a more hero energy than in the conquering energy. Okay, let's go on to our Tauruses. Our tarot card is the Judgment card. This is very much the hero is almost at the end of his journey through the major arcana. Here he comes up and he rises through the experiences that he has had or she has had, and there's an illumination. You can see that through the yellow hair. And there's a feeling of revival. There's a feeling actually of life coming out of these coffins. So I want to offer it this way, because as a Taurus, you've been experiencing not only Jupiter recently going through your sign, but more importantly, Uranus for quite some time. And Uranus can be disruptive, bring in unexpected events, kind of blow things up a little bit. And somewhere, I believe you're coming up above all of that. So let's see where we're going. I'm a Taurus moon. And as a Taurus moon, I'm very aware. I look at my natal chart in Placidus. These videos are in whole sign, but when I look at Placidus when I do personal astrology charts, because the house structure is very powerful. It gives me a lot of information. My first house is primarily Taurus. I'm a 26-degree Aries rising. So when you look at it in Placidus, I'm very Taurian and my moon is there. So I identify with myself and my maternal energies. So I think that's important because Taurus, you rule personal history, you rule the history of the family. And that is because the family and their way of being with you affected your self-worth, about your skills, about your beauty, about all things Venusian in the Taurus energy, your ability to create, your crafts, your handiwork. So here, regardless of what has happened, you're about to rise above something and conquer it. So our first angel is Rochelle, the angel of your heart and harmony. There's Layla, the angel of connection with the other side. Chantal, the angel of romance, is here. And then we have Crystal saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon than you can't see. So Taurus loves love. Rochelle is being joined by the letting go card. Layla's being joined by the partnership card, the spider. Chantal's being joined by the king. And Crystal's being joined by the perception card. So this judgment card is not about some guy in the sky saying you're bad. This is the rebirth. We are past the death. We're past really the judgment. And now we're coming into the reconciliation of that judgment. And here, the letting go card for me is very much associated with the song Let It Go from the movie Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. And here's Rochelle saying, as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, prosperity is coming to you. Now with Rochelle, prosperity is not money for me. It's harmonious wealth. There's flow of money, there's flow of love, there's flow of friends, there's a feeling of rhythm. And that rhythm gives me a sense of security and a sense of purpose. So here, I really believe that you're letting go of or moving into an energy where you see how your fears have served your heart to be more the stronger muscle. Your heart is your inner voice. Your inner voice is your oversoul, the larger part of you that is not in the physical experience, but holding space for your dreams and your intention within this physical experience. Because as you talk to God and the angels about the partnerships you want, about the things you want to create, the spider represents creative projects, but as I see this web, I see the potential of birthing something on the World Wide Web. I see this as a relationship card because whatever gets in that web has a cooperative relationship to give sustenance to this spider. And then we go into the angel's advice of Chantal and the king. So somewhere, whatever you love, if it could be a person, it could be a skill, it could be a talent, it could be something that's super important to you. It will be given new life. But part of that new life is you being willing to rebirth it, and also to be in the process of understanding that your efforting is not going to make things necessarily happen any faster. When a woman gets pregnant, when you plant a seed in the ground to grow corn, to grow a radish, to grow a tomato, there's a gestation period. And I believe that this spread is representing that gestation period and your opportunity to align on a mental, emotional, and spiritual basis with that which you cannot see with your eyes, but you can feel with your heart. Because Crystal says, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. And there's the perception card. So this is really an opportunity for Taurus. While they are an earth sign, this is an opportunity to have your belief and your connection to what you cannot see grounded into the earth and then birthed through the earth for others to witness. But part of it is you having the sight and the ability to hold that space while the seed does what it does to grow, while the baby gestates within the belly and does what it needs to do to grow in order to be birthed in a healthy way. There's something about the process of, or the awareness of the process, that hopefully brings you a sense of peace. And so you can keep your eye on the outcome versus all the little idiosyncrasies or details that happen on the road ahead. Because sometimes when we think we're taking a step back, we can get a little annoyed by it, but that step back gives us more perception or a bigger, broader view of seeing, oh, I get it. I want to tweak this, or I want to twist that a little bit. So I think that's what's going on. All right, let's go on to our Geminis. Geminis, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, Gemini Rising. We have the Knight of Cups. This is a very interesting energy to me because I always see the wings on this guy's helmet, and it makes me feel as if I think a lot about love, and I think a lot about crossing over that emotional divide. Here we see this little river, and this horse appears to be sort of in a light energy with that foot up, and yet the rider feels very intentional to me. So here what I see is a young energy, not necessarily a young boy, but a more youthful energy. There's a feeling of gaiety or of happiness a little bit as I'm walking towards this river of emotion, and I'm holding my cup out to it. We also see, because the wings on there feel very mercurial to me. So I'm thinking about love, but I'm also willing to offer love. And this movement is not fast. There's a feeling of steadiness for me. You know, oftentimes when I learned the tarot, the knights were representative of a teenage energy, and the Knight of Cups could be very fickle. He could love you one day and not love you the next. So let's see where we're going with this for our Geminis, because this might have more to do with you than it has to do with somebody else. Let's see. Our first angel is Astera, saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and your desires and don't compromise. We have Francesca. Boy, they've been coming out as a team today. What are you visualizing? Negativity will block your progress. Then we have Rochelle. That's all about your heart. And then we have Adriana saying she's leading you to the answers to your prayers. I really believe that so much of what we're going through right now is this transformation between I'll believe it when I see it, and now we're starting to believe it. We're starting to say, I'll see it when I believe it. And those people standing in awareness who have been on a journey of awareness will realize that subtle shift is so important in order to manifest expeditiously. So here we go. Astera, Gemini, is being joined by the wind fairy. Yes, keep your eye on the prize of what you want. And that knight is telling you that it's viable for you. And I think this is about a steady pace and actually a very easy flow. I can't help but notice the horse feels as if it's just sort of gliding along. Francesca is being joined by the stag. This is about standing in leadership of your thoughts, not allowing that Gemini rules short bits of information. It also rules our teammates, our workmates, our everyday activities. And oftentimes when we have an inspiration and want to do something, we'll want to talk about it with other people. And those other people inadvertently, whether they love us or not, will be like, well, how are you going to do that? How long will that take? I recently came up with an idea, which I'm going to share with you guys soon. And I mentioned it to one person, and they were very lovely about it. They didn't realize what they were doing, but it was like, well, aren't there a lot of people doing that? What's going to make you special? And my awareness of their humanness in that response helped me hold my own while I'm creating something, because Rochelle is about following your heart in the angel's advice. And then we have the forgiveness card. So there's a reconciliation as you trust your heart over your head. Something is about to happen because the angels are leading you to something. And that leading sometimes is precursed by a disruption. So let's see. Adriana is being joined by the focus card. So our Geminis are very much being tasked to be aware of their thoughts. And are they thinking about how will I get to my dreams? How will I maneuver this way or that way? Because my personal experience is I don't always know if I should move left or right. And when I slow down a little bit, I can feel an inspiration. Go here, do this, try that. And even sometimes that inspiration is to slow down, give myself some time. So here, this is about moving from going into a loving energy where your mind, see those wings, that's mercurial, and what you love are aligned. And here, this is what Astera is saying, align your thoughts with what you want. This is asking you not to be prideful in what you've experienced. Don't be stubborn in what you know doesn't work because it hasn't worked, because we know that, but the future is unwritten. And that's why we want to focus in on what we want. That's why we have a forgiveness card with Rochelle offering harmonious wealth and prosperity. And that makes it, that's where we take the non-physical and we birth it into the physical. And that is done through mental focus first. I poked my own eye. And then trusting God and the angels to give us inspirations and not trying to jump the gun into action. Because the human will always say, well, what are you doing? Were you productive today? What did you do today? It didn't say, what were you being today? And I think the change will be, how are you being today? I'm being alive and hopeful. I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to be ready to be ready. Very Abraham-y. All right, let's go on to our Cancers, rising, moon, sun, and stallions. How cute is this little dog right now? He's so tired. He's so stressed out from watching me move all our stuff in and around. I've been hiding all my things in cubby holes around my home so they could paint and carpet and put up new things, shelves, and all sorts of fun stuff. All right, on to my Cancers. Okay, we have the Tower card. This is very Uranus for me, okay? There's something gets blown up and it's unexpected and it's not always negative. I want to offer that because the lightning bolt hits the crown at the top of this, which breaks up a structure of some kind. And yes, it may throw the characters off, but the characters, if the characters are married to that structure to their detriment, this is actually a good thing. So I think there's a lightning bolt that brings a sense of disruption that then leads to something more aligned for my Cancers. Cancer is the energy of the nurturer. They call it the healer. I'm now rephrasing it as the balancer. But one of the challenges is that the Cancer energy goes out, out, out. Let me take care of my homeland. Let me take care of the people in my home. Let me nurture and heal others. And that's gotten muddled in the human structure. And while it's considered something that we applaud people who are selfless, we also see sometimes people who are selfless not really experience their full power, because the balance of the self and giving to others is what we're really wanting to achieve on a soul level. And the giving to others is not always about handing them material resources, but giving them an experience of me empowering myself that stretches them to want to empower themselves. This is very Uranian. It's liberating. It's rebellious. It's unexpected. So let's see where this is happening for you. Because we do have a full moon coming up on the 29th in Aries. I'm hoping to get a video done separately on that. Right now, I'm not pushing myself too much because the universe is giving me a lot of experiences to practice what I preach. And I smile a little bit stiffly when I say that. All right, Cancer. Our first angel is the angel of protection, Xana. The second is Seraphina, a happy change to your family. There's Rochelle, trusting your heart again, following your heart. And then finally, Maya, the angel of schooling and education. And that's not necessarily going into a school and learning what humans want us to learn. This is learning about how spirit works with us and how we're protected. And the protection isn't like necessarily, ooh, something bad's going to happen to you. It's more, the protection comes from the idea that our thoughts are things. And the more we're aware that our thoughts are things, the more spirit has an opportunity to lead us into inspirations that give us an empowered situation, which then makes us appear to be protected. But it's really a focus. It'll be interesting to see if the focus card comes out here. Because Cancer by nature is focused on everybody else. And yet, in order to truly be powerful for others, we get to take care of ourselves. So we have that energy. Xana is being joined by the communications card. Well, there you go. That's kind of like a focus card. You're being protected from self-talk or from inadvertently talking about whatever's getting hit by that lightning bolt. Here we go. Seraphina and the focus card. Focus on the happy family. Focus on the resolution. Focus on how it will feel when things are aligned the way you want them to be. Rochelle is being joined by the partnership card. So as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, not only are you coming into more physical partnerships with those that are aligned to a renovated version of you, but you're also starting to understand how sometimes if you nurture things that are out of balance, you don't balance them. It just seems to perpetuate the lack of balance. We have the trust card being joined by Maya, the angel of schooling and education. So I want to offer this because I work for myself and I do readings and I do astrology and I don't have a side job. And there's a part of me that has practiced my focus. And when I get nervous that I'm not going to have the resources, or I see myself spending lots of material money to facilitate something, that's when I know that my self-talk and talking to God and the angels and thanking them for bringing forth whatever material resources I need to feel secure or to feel loved or to feel viable in this world, because something is changing within your family. And if for some reason you're a Cancer of childbearing years and you haven't conceived yet, it doesn't mean that you won't. There are planetary activity right now where if you are a soul contemplating an incarnation, you may say, hey, I'm going to wait a minute. These are a little rough. I don't know if I want to be, in the bullseye, because what Rochelle is saying is, as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, you can't see your heart beating. You can't see your heart manifest something. The heart is the conceiver, the inspirer. And here's the partnership card. So this is about coming into partnership with your own desires, and not to look at circumstances, but your desires. Because at the end of the day, this is a trust exercise, and the trust is in your self-talk, and that spirit will then support you as you unravel the fears and start to re-engage the faith. And then the self-talk becomes more faithful and more faithful. Thank you for this happening. I feel so awesome. I am thriving. I am lovable. I am experiencing active love coming at me, and I'm excited about it. All right, let's go on to our Leos. Leo rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. You have Juno and Venus together. You must, I really think that if those 2 points have been traveling over any part of Leo's degrees, so if you're a Leo rising and you've been experiencing Venus retrograde from, I think it was like 28 degrees all the way back to 12, and now she's moving forward again. And when she went backwards, she caught up with Juno, and they've been traveling together ever since. Juno represents marriage, partner, committed relationships, savory relationships, a little more serious relationships. Venus rules love and beauty and romance. And yes, she rules partnership, but from a more, it feels a little less practical than maybe Juno. And now they're traveling together. So they're wanting to marry the excitement of Venus and the self-worth and the kind of real romantic love with that committed partnership. So let's see what your tarot card is. Hold on. And we have the Star. This is a card of great faith. It also rules astrology. But the thing I love so much about this card is that so much is happening while this character is being vulnerable to only what she can see. There's an urn that actually is pouring the emotions, the water, the love out in many directions here. It's a smaller urn, and she doesn't have her eye on it. She's got her eye on the bigger urn, and that one's going in a circle. So there's something going on behind the scenes that you can't see. And if indeed Leo is ready to find a committed, loving relationship, or to move to the next step, or to find a committed relationship to express your own creativity, to go out and be that comedian, be that actress, be that creative expression, that artist, it's time to have faith. It's time to, while you're working on one thing, knowing that God and the angels are conspiring, the world, the universe is bringing everything you need. And your ability to have faith in that is how you speed things up, not staring at the clock. All right, here we go. Our first angel is Seraphina. The second is Ray. Third is Archangel Raphael. And the final is Aurora. Okay. Seraphina is being joined by the Wind Fairy. Ray is being joined by the Mystery card. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Fire Fairy. And Aurora is being joined by Merlin. I want to offer this for my Leos because Leo rules the conception of children and romance. Libra rules committed partnership. So I want to offer it this way because when I look at Seraphina talking about a happy change to the family, I feel like Spirit is saying this is where your mind should be. Maybe not on the details of how that happiness takes place or how that child gets conceived or how that creative project gets birthed, but rather how it feels through the process. Exhilarating, exciting, a little scary, whatever your adjectives are. Because again, we're moving into an age when Pluto moves into Aquarius, when it's going to become a much more logical and practical exercise to be aware of your thoughts. Right now, we throw them away. Oh, that's just semantics. No, it's not. What it is a vibration that comes out of your mouth, and that vibration kicks in the laws of the universe. So an awareness of that vibration, and if the vibration is negative talk, then what you're kicking in is negativity coming or negative experiences or what you deem negative. So here, because your choice right now and your power for Leo comes through your connection to Spirit and a very meditating, spending time, not just talking about what a problem is, but what the solution is, but how it feels when it's solved. Because Archangel Raphael is offering you some kind of inspiration, but it doesn't come until your mind becomes more optimistic and has more faith about that which you cannot see versus that which you can see. The fixed signs have a little bit of a challenge because each one is sandwiched between two other signs. So there's no real wiggle room within the quadrant, which is why we think of them as fixed. And now I think what Spirit's wanting is that fixed energy to be on faith, that you're working in partnership with a whole universe that is conspiring to bring what you want to you. And if you continue to tell the story of what you don't want, then you are the co-creator of that experience you're not enjoying. Because Aurora says you're flying high right now, don't descend, you will soon inspire others. And there's Merlin, alchemy, justice, and balance. This inspiration comes as a result of your thoughts and your willingness to see the baton pass between, here it is, you've got this creative idea. Wow, I'm so excited about it. Then you get to that place in the journey, where do I go next? That's when you say to Spirit, okay, I'm waiting for that next inspiration. And that next inspiration will come rather quickly when you surrender to it, when you're like, all right, I'm just going to continue to focus on the whirlpool while other things are going on, and then I'll take action as I'm inspired to do so. And I think this will be very powerful because, again, Leo is the leader of the Zodiac. And as a Leo rising, that's a sign of self. So here you're finding this lifetime is about finding your heart, or at least identifying and acknowledging your heart's desires, having the courage to step into that vibration, and then working in connection with your team on the other side. This isn't about all about you. Yeah, there's a part of you that's going to be involved, but then there's a big part of you that has to be, or gets to be, vulnerable to the energies that are happening behind the scenes. Okay, let's go on to our final sign, Virgo. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, our final card for the day is the energy of the devil. This is a Capricorn energy. And if you look closely at this card, these two characters sitting at the foreground or at the knees of the devil, they have these big chains around their necks, but they're very loose. They could lift them up and pull them over. So in many ways, this is a perceived entrapment, a perceived restriction, a perceived energy that's dominating you. Now, Virgo rules the sign of, or Virgo rules enslavement. It rules our work. It rules our health. And, when we don't feel good, it can feel very debilitating, and it's very hard to get past any pain or any discomfort to feel a sense of wanting to live. And I always think when I look at the devil, it's lived backwards. So when we are being trapped by the devil, we're not living our lives. So there could very well be this energy where Virgo is starting to redefine what is important to them. Where do you want to put your efforts in the way of your service to others? Because I believe that the most powerful service to others is to follow your bliss. And when you follow your bliss, you inadvertently give permission or an invitation to others to follow their bliss. And when we follow our bliss, our health naturally elevates. Laughter elevates the cells of the body. Happiness elevates, and they vibrate at a more excited energy. So I think that this is about really releasing yourself from wherever you feel enslaved. So let's see where we're going here. Our first angel is Fiona. The second is Celeste. The third is Athena, and the final is Desiree. All righty, Fiona is being joined by the cat. Celeste is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. Athena is being joined by the Baird. And Desiree is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. For my Virgos, I really think this is a lot about starting to reflect on what's important to you, where you want to put your energies, where you want to put your thoughts, where you want to process your information. Because Fiona is saying, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And the cat is about independence and healthy boundaries. And I have in the opportunity, the obstacle, Celeste, representing a new home or a new place of employment. And there's the birth and the rebirth card. And I very much could say for my Virgos, that there's the potential that you'll be rethinking what you want to do in the way of spending your 40 hours a week, making money. And you may, because as the internet grows and as the platforms on the internet grow, each individual has more power over, creating resources to make them feel secure. And I think this is an opportunity for you to rebirth how you spend your time in service to others through work. Because Athena is saying to lovingly assert yourself into your history. And if your history isn't working for you, it's time to tell a new, more enchanted story and to start to birth that new story. Because while this is true right now, meaning there's a very good possibility that you're not happy with your everyday experiences and money-making endeavors. And even though the history says maybe, when I assert myself, I have not been successful, I think this is really an opportunity to take a minute. Desiree saying that conditions aren't favorable until you have sat down and delineated how much courage you have and how much self-respect you have and how much responsibility for your truth that you want to take. And I want to offer it this way. It's not as if you've been lying or not telling a truth, but your natural energy to be of service to others may be superseding the service you give to yourself. And in doing so, you're slowly eroding your energy. And even though you want to continue to be of service or continue to contribute to your family with your resources, you may inadvertently, by saying, you know what, this doesn't work for me anymore. And I'm willing to acknowledge that and then let God and the angels start to inspire me into certain actions that will lead me into a new opportunity. Years ago, when I first started working for myself, I was used to being an employee and working 40 hours a week. And I didn't have enough to do, to be honest with you. And I started to watch Lada Duncheva's videos, started watching astrology, and then that started to trigger the things I learned from my grandmother and my natural interest in astrology. And then one day, Spirit encouraged me to try to be on Lada's channel. And I said to Spirit, well, I'm not really an astrologer right now. And Spirit didn't seem to care. And when I was, in thinking about this, I thought, how will I do that? And then Spirit started to bring these little inspirations. Call this person, do that, blah, 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 blah. And the next thing I know, 6 months later, much to my amazement, Lotta offered me a spot and I stayed on her channel for 3 years. Those 3 years gave me the confidence to be able to go on the YouTube ride, to watch subscribers go up, go down, to watch my numbers, blah, blah, blah. And then just to trust who I am and what I have to offer, and that if I built it, Spirit would bring those that resonated. And I believe the same thing is happening for my Virgos. And I believe that you have a real opportunity to rewrite your story for others. Because when you take and unshackle yourself from that which you feel shackled to, it gives other people permission to say, well, I want to be happy too. And this is what makes me happy. And when we start to focus on that, the divine laws of the universe will bring in the dynamics to support that. And it will continue to do it and continue to do it regardless of the conditions in the outside world. People will look at you and say, how are you thriving in a world that doesn't feel like it's thriving? And you'll say, because I focused on thriving. I didn't focus on the details of how I would get there, but rather how I would feel on this journey of trust and faith, not just in myself, but in the creation that I'm doing with the universe. Because this is really where we're all headed. I believe this planet is lined up for some really fun manifestations, but getting through this oppressive structures that we have built over eons isn't easy. And that's why people talk about the ascension. And the ascension really isn't going from a low place to a high place. It's going from survival into focused thought that then creates and manifests in the world. All right, everybody, that's it for me today. I appreciate you so much. I'm going to be doing a, what do we have? I think it's a full moon in Aries coming up. Yeah, because we're in Libra season on the 29th. So we'll be getting that done. But bear with us. I appreciate you guys for your loyalty, because it's been a choppy month for me. And I've been traversing between my human body and my spiritual body. And my human body is extremely human when it's active. So I appreciate y'all. All right, everybody, that's it for me and the Luckster for today. We'll see you soon. Peace out. Pardon my grunting.